Lucifer wasn't the first to fall. The eternal silence was broken by an ancient voice, a sound that echoed before time even existed. It was the beginning, and at the same time, the harbinger of something terrible. Creation still breathed purity. The light of God covered everything. The angels sang in perfect harmony. Nothing had been corrupted. Nothing had fallen. But in the shadows of the throne, something began to stir. Something that even the closest cherubs couldn't understand. A seed, a thought, a different kind of wish. For centuries, we have believed that Lucifer was the first to rebel, the first to fall. But what if that's not the truth? What if, before him, there had already been a forgotten fall, a rebellion that preceded the rebellion? Get ready. What you are about to hear is not a legend. It's a story hidden in the subtext of creation, a spiritual truth that few have dared to investigate. Because not every fall begins in the sky. Some begin in the depths of the abyss. In the beginning, God created beings of light and power, angels of various orders, cherubim, seraphim, thrones, dominions, each with a purpose, each with a mission. But there was a different group. Watchful angels, designated to observe Earth and protect nascent humanity. They were guardians of the border between the visible and the invisible. Their duty was to observe and never intervene. And it was there that the first act of disobedience began. Long before Michael's war against Lucifer, long before the morning star loses its shine. These angels began to desire what was human. They began to admire what was earthly, and what began as mere observation turned into a passion. The ancients called these beings the Watchmen. Powerful men called them children of God, and forgotten texts such as the Book of Enoch tell that they descended to earth. They weren't expelled. They chose to go down. They chose to abandon heaven for forbidden love. Shemihazar, the leader of the Watchers, summoned 200 of them. "Let's make a pact among ourselves," he said, "so that no one turns back when we are in the abyss." And so, beneath Mount Hermon, they sealed the oath. It was the first alliance of rebellion, the first act of downfall. They took the daughters of men for themselves, and from them giants were born. Beings that earth could not sustain. Nephilim, mortal bodies with the strength of the heavens. And then the corruption began. The blood of the earth cried out. The purity of Eden was tainted, and the heavens grew sad. Meanwhile, Lucifer was still light. He was still in his glory, surrounded by precious stones. He walked on the blazing fire, but something in his heart was beginning to change. He observed what was happening on earth, and deep inside, the same poison that brought down the Watchers was being born. The desire to be something more than what one was created to be. The Watchers fell for love. Lucifer would fall because of pride. But the essence was the same, a desire to surpass the limits that God has set. The sky shook. God observed the corruption of men and the blood of the innocent. Then he sent the flood, not just to clean the earth, but to bring an end to the lineage of giants, to erase the traces of the first fall. The fallen angels were imprisoned, cast into abysses of darkness, chained until Judgment Day. And the name of the abyss was Tartarus. There, in the deepest shadows, the Watchers waited, prisoners, silent, witnesses to what happens when creation defies the Creator. But the echo of their rebellion has not faded. Lucifer heard. He saw what happened to those who rebelled against the Most High, and yet he continued to nurture the same desire. While the Watchers paid the price for their downfall, Lucifer was planning his own. But his plan would be bigger, more daring, more devastating. because he didn't just want to go down, he wanted Toto seize the throne. And that concludes part 1. The fall of the Watchers was the prelude, a warning that was ignored, a reflection of what was yet to come. But the universe was about to witness something even more terrible, because the most beautiful of angels was about to transform in the darkest of spirits. The sky still shone perfectly, the chants echoed like rivers of light. But something in the heart of a cherub began to burn. Lucifer, the morning star, the bearer of light. He was magnificent. It was live music. It was fire dancing before the throne. But the more he shone, but he wanted to shine on his own. Pride began as a whisper, a silent thought. Why worship when I can be worshipped? Why serve when I can govern? And that whisper grew. It spread like the wind among the celestial choirs. Some angels heard, and they were charmed by his words. I don't want to destroy the throne, he said. I want to sit next to him. But the words, disguised as humility, they were seeds of rebellion. The heavens began to split. There were those who remained faithful to the voice of the Creator, and there were those who believed that Lucifer could be like him. Harmony was broken, the music stopped, and a heavy silence fell over the sky. Then the war began. It was a battle that no human eye could ever have imagined. The sound of the swords was like thunder. Lightning flashed across the sky. Angels fell like burning stars. Miguel stood up. His name meant "Who is like God?" and that was the celestial response to Lucifer's pride. You will not rise above the stars. You will be thrown into the abyss. The light broke, and the morning star went out. But there's something that few people understand. Lucifer's downfall did not begin with the war. It began in the heart. And that's the most dangerous thing. He saw the Watchers fall for love. He saw the punishment they received. But he believed it was different. He believed he was untouchable. And that was the thought. This illusion of grandeur, which threw him deeper than any other. When the war ended, the sky wept, and a third of the angels fell with him. They weren't just expelled, they were transformed. The light turned to darkness. The singing turned into a scream, and the sky would never be the same again. The name Lucifer has lost its glorious sound. Now they called him Satan, the opponent, the accuser, what separates. But what many don't realize, the fact is that Lucifer didn't fall alone. He inherited a legacy, the seed that began with the Watchers, the same disobedience, the same desire to push the limit. They were the mirror he followed, and that is why the Bible calls him the father of lies, because her lie started before him. He started with the idea that the Creator could be challenged. While the Watchers were imprisoned in Tartarus, Lucifer and his angels wandered about. Homeless, without a throne, without rest, they encountered chaos, and they made it their kingdom. Darkness became my dwelling place, and there the adversary began to build his empire. Hell was not created for man, it was prepared for them, for the angels who abandoned their abode. But when man fell into Eden, Lucifer saw his opportunity. If he could not reign in heaven, regeria a terra. If it couldn't be light above, he would be lord of the shadows below. And so the manipulation began. The same spirit that corrupted the Watchers, now it was entering the human mind. Desire, pride, self-sufficiency. And once again, history repeated itself. First the angels, then men. The serpent in Eden was merely an echo of something much older. It wasn't the beginning of the rebellion. It was a continuation of it. And God was watching. He knew that evil could not win, but it would allow it to grow, so that justice might be complete, so that all creation might see the result of disobedience. Then something happened. A murmur crossed the chasm. The imprisoned Watchers began to sense the presence of the new rebel. They knew that Lucifer had followed the same path, but he was different, more ambitious, more dangerous, and it was at that moment that all hell broke loose. No longer a waiting place, but an empire, a throne in the midst of shadows, with hierarchies, legions, and dominion. While the sky remained silent, Lucifer was preparing his revenge, not against the vigilantes, but against humanity, because she was the image of God, and everything that reminded us of the Creator, it should be destroyed. He didn't just want revenge. I wanted to corrupt what God loved. He wanted to transform creation into a mirror of his downfall, and so began the greatest invisible war of all time. The war between light and darkness, between the Creator and the fallen, between love and pride. But what Lucifer didn't know, the fact is, when he fell, he was merely fulfilling God's purpose. His pride would become the tool that would reveal the glory of God, because where darkness reigns, the light becomes even more evident. And while he believed he was winning, a mystery that would span generations, something that would restore what was lost, and it would destroy the rebellion from the root. But before that, the world needed to experience chaos. I needed to see what happens when the heavens are challenged, and so ends the second part. The fall of Lucifer was not the beginning of evil, it was simply a continuation of a much older story, a story of disobedience, pride, and desire, but also of redemption that was yet to come. Time passed, times have changed, but the scars from the falls remained. The earth, once perfect, was now the stage for invisible conflicts. The fallen angels walked among men, Lucifer ruled from the shadows, and the Watchers still groaned in the abyss. But heaven never forgets, and the Creator never loses control. For centuries, evil believed it was winning. Civilizations built on idolatry. Entire nations bowed down to gods who were nothing more than echoes of the fallen. The world has plunged into spiritual darkness. A promise echoed from Eden. From the seed of the woman will come forth the one who will crush the serpent's head. And when the time was up, the light descended to earth once more, not like lightning, not like thunder, but like a man. Jesus, the Word that became flesh, the one whom the heavens were waiting for, the one whom even hell feared. From the moment he was born, hell raged. The demons knew who he was. Lucifer himself recognized the presence of the one who had once expelled him. But there was something he didn't understand. Why would the Son of God become a man? Lucifer believed that power was the way. But Christ came to show that love was the answer, and that was the weapon that hell could never understand. Jesus grew up in silence. He spoke with authority. It healed, liberated, restored. Each miracle was a blow against the darkness. Each word, a light piercing the darkness. The same angels who fell because of pride. Now they trembled before the humility of the Son. But the climax of this story was yet to come, because the Son of God did not come merely to teach. He came down. He came to enter where no one else could enter. And when the cross was raised, hell believed it had won. The fallen star smiled. Finally, the Creator had died. But what hell didn't know, death would be his greatest defeat. When Christ's body was placed in the tomb, his spirit descended into the depths. He descended into Tartarus, to the same abyss where the Watchers were imprisoned, to the same place where the first rebellion was sealed. And there, for the first time, hell trembled. The one whom time could not contain. He entered the prisons of the abyss, and before the fallen, he declared victory. The chains broke, the darkness trembled. And the Son of God took the keys of death and hell, the same abyss that imprisoned the first rebels. Now he witnessed the liberation of the righteous. The fallen watchers, the legions of demons, Lucifer himself, they all witnessed the impossible. The light had gone down, and it couldn't be turned off. Therefore, the Bible says, when he ascended on high, he led captivity captive. For the Son took with him those who were waiting for redemption. Abraham's bosom was emptied, and hell emptied of power. Lucifer screamed in fury. He didn't understand. Like the cross, a symbol of weakness, could it be the throne of victory? But it was there in the humiliation that the divine plan was being revealed. The first fall began because of pride. The ultimate victory would come through obedience. The Watchers fell because they desired what they should not have. Lucifer fell because he wanted to be God. But Christ triumphed by emptying himself. And then the prophecy was fulfilled. The woman's seed crushed the serpent's head, not forcefully, but with sacrifice. And at that moment all the falls of angels, of men, of their own world, they met their end. Today, spiritual warfare continues. The echoes of the rebellion still resonate, but their fate has already been sealed. The throne has been restored, and the light won forever. Lucifer believed he could be equal to God, but the cross showed what it truly means to be like him. To be like God is to love until the end. It's about forgiveness, it's about surrendering, and that is the truth that the enemy will never be able to understand. The security guards were witnesses to the justice system. Lucifer witnessed the consequences, but humanity, he was a witness to grace. The story began with the fall, but it ends with redemption, because where sin abounded, grace abounded. Now, every time evil rises up, heaven doesn't care, because victory has already been declared. The Lamb conquered before the foundation of the world, and if there is a hidden lesson in all this story, this is it. Pride always falls, obedience always wins, and love always reigns. Lucifer was not the first to fall, but he will be the last to kneel, before him who is, which was, and what is to come. Evil was born from vanity, but he was overcome by humility. The heavens hold the memory of the falls, not to glorify disobedience, but to reveal the power of redemption. Hell has met its own justice, but the man experienced forgiveness, and that is why, even today, the name of Jesus makes hell tremble.